As part of this video, I of course had to include one type of English, and in this week's video, I'm going to go through some of my favorite tips for last-minute GCSE English language revision, and how you can make sure you still get a top grade even with a few days left. And this video will be split into general tips and then some quick-fire tips per question at the end, so I hope you stick around and watch through all the way so you can get all the best tips for last-minute GCSE English language revision. So the first tip is going to be all about timing, which is arguably the base of English language at GCSE, and timing is what you have to stick through the entire paper with to make sure you get all the marks but also have enough time to answer all the questions. So I'm going to put up a little screenshot of some of the timings that I found on the internet, and honestly I'm pretty sure these are taught by all English teachers across the country. And of course, although these are the official guidelines of how long you should spend per question, not everyone's going to spend those first 10 minutes reading through the text, even though I definitely recommend it. It's super important to make sure you have actual good comprehension of the text, but I know there's still going to be people who just read through the parts that they need to go and answer the questions. And then for question 1, not everyone's going to spend 4 to 5 minutes answering it. Some people might get it done in 2 minutes, and some people might find that they finish question 5 earlier or later than 40 or 45 minutes as recommended. But you shouldn't massively overrun to the point where you're taking an hour on question 5 and having to cut down on timings for the other 4. And then sticking onto timing further, I would say if you haven't done a timed English language paper by now, you should definitely get on that, because timing is of the essence when it comes to this exam. But before that, you need to have an understanding of how long you're spending already without having a set time. Now, tip number 2 for English language revision last minute stuff is concise wording, something you can easily implement. And what I mean by this is not waffling in your paper. But now, because you have so much of a time constraint when it comes to some of the questions, you need to make sure that you get rid of the waffle, cut out the waffle. And that is why doing practice papers and exam papers is so useful, because you can practice that technique. But the reason being is you don't want to just repeat the same point in different ways. Instead, what you want to do is make sure you signpost what you're about to say from each paragraph. That way the examiner can see it at the start of the paragraph and give you marks. It's more concise, easier to write, and much easier to do and quicker to do, so you can move on to the next question within those 8 minutes and not have to spend 12-15 minutes on them. And tip number 3 is flashcards on key terms, something that everyone can implement, so there's no excuse not to. You can do this really easily even though you have a few days left until your exam. You need to know words like anaphora, sibilant, epizoisis, and techniques that are going to come up that are not just metaphor, simile, personification. That way you're allowing yourself to get the higher marks, giving the examiner an insight that yes, you know what these things are and you know how to use them, you know how they work, and that way if you mention them in your answer correctly, you will get the marks. Now for some quickfire tips. Question 1, 4 marks, 4 points, so make sure you don't say the same thing in different ways. Question 2, don't go outside the lines when they're asking you to analyze the language. You're going to stick to what they say in between the lines. Just write down or make a little mark next to the lines to make sure you remember. And alongside that, you need to analyze the language well, the vocabulary, the literary techniques that they use, and the evocative language, and that way you will make sure to get the marks for question 2. Question 3, act like a director is what my English teacher used to say. You want to talk about the different shots, how it goes from a wide perspective into a pinpoint perspective on a single character. That way you can analyze the entire structure of your whatever extract you've got given, and that is how to answer question 3. Question 4 is the one most similar to stuff you've done in class. Very similar in terms of the essay writing. You need to analyze the language using a quotation from the extract, and you analyze the quotation and talk about how it works and how it affects the reader. That is question 4, and a big one. Question 5, you shouldn't underestimate the power of your grammar, your spelling, and just your overall accuracy, because technical accuracy has 16 marks in this question. And then alongside that, make sure you use evocative language and interesting vocabulary to make sure you get the other 24 marks for just your general essay writing. And yeah, that is how you do well in question 5. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you found it useful. This is a very last minute addition to the last minute tips for GCSE English language, because I realized the paper is next week. But yeah, I really hope this video helps anyone who does watch it before their exam. And honestly, just make sure you do a lot of practice. That is what I would say is the biggest thing when it comes to English language. So yeah, I hope this video helps you out, and I will be back next week with hopefully a bit of a different one this time. Bye for now.